The biggest debate in 2024, F4 or F2.8? Hi, it's Cheng here from RED35. Today, we are going to have a very interesting discussion between the F4 Pro series of zoom lenses against the F2.8 Pro Zoom series. Throughout the history of this channel, I've talked a lot about the 2.8 Pro Zoom series, the 12-40 F2.8 Pro, the 7-14 F2.8 Pro, and of course, the 40-150 F2.8 Pros. All of these lenses are absolute beasts. They are great lenses for what they are, and really, you can't get better in the micro four thirds realm. And just a few years ago, Olympus / now Ohm System have launched a little series, just basically a follow-on of the 2.8, the F4 Pro series, which proven to be also very, very popular. And today, I want to utilize this video and this discussion here to highlight a few things why I choose the F4 Pro in certain situations over the 2.8. Before I continue today's video, remember to subscribe and like this video, and this will help me out a lot. But anyway, this is a very interesting thing simply because since I turned professional 16, 17 years ago, all I always aim is trying to get the best possible, fastest lenses I could get, whether it's going to be like a 1.2 prime lenses or the 2.8 zoom lenses. These are basically my workhorse lenses for all the jobs that I've done over the past 16, 17 years. And now I've got the F4 Pro series, which, well, funny enough, I've taken them and I prefer them to use for all my travels and documentaries. Just a little bit of a background for today's videos. Well, all lens makers always make a 2.8 set as well as the F4 sets. And why is that? Well, now we have to dig back a little bit to the history. Well, before digital, analogs is a very different beast altogether. Yes, we have different film speed that you can adapt to, but you can't change your roll mid-fly. You can't do that, right? So most professionals have to carry 2, maybe even 3 bodies to have 2 to 3 different film speed, ISO 100, 400 and 800 films in different bodies. So they always think that having a 2.8 or any sort of brighter aperture lenses would always benefit them for in terms of flexibility. Back in them days, we weren't talking about aperture size for depth of field effects or bokeh. We are talking about flexibility there for light gathering, nothing else. In today's digital world, it's very different because we can change ISO on the fly, meaning just a couple of buttons here, a dial setting, you are good to go. So this is really what sets the difference between the olden days and the new days. So the 2.8 is kind of always been the pro choice for that sense, and that kind of mentality has carried over to the digital era. And every pros and every enthusiast will always think that 2.8 is going to be the best, the choice for if you are serious about photography, right? So the little brother, the F4, is slightly different. So why did the lens makers make the F4 lenses, even back in the film days? Namely, Canon and Nikon make their F4 series lenses quite renownedly because they are very, very good. But to create 2.8 lenses back in the film days were very, very difficult, very challenging. To make them sharp, short, wide open 2.8 is very, very difficult. And that's why all these 2.8 lenses are very big, even today, actually. So, for those photographers who doesn't need to have that 2.8 flexibility, they would go for the slightly smaller and critically sharper image quality for a smaller package. And that is very evident back in the Canon days when I used to shoot Canon film cameras, and the 24-70 f4 and also the 70-200 f4 are actually better than the 2.8 versions. Now we're in the digital time. So ISO film speed doesn't really apply anymore, and why would I still want to go for the F4 Pro series or F4 series instead of the 2.8? Well, the second part or the latter part of the discussion that I spoke about earlier still stand, which is the size and weight. We'll have a simple demonstration right here. In front of me, I have the 2.8 Trinity, the 7-14 2.8, the 12-40 2.8, and the 40-150 2.8. These are the micro four third Pro lenses. Together with, right here, which is the F4 set, the 8-25 F4 Pro, the 12-45 F4 Pro, and of course, one of my favorites, the 40-150 f4 Pro. These are the Pro lenses 2.8 sets and f4 sets right in front of me here. And you can immediately see the differences here is the size. And not only just the size, but also the weight as well. More evidently, if you just basically looking at discount these two here, because I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. Just look at the size difference between the 2.8 versions of the 12-40 and the 12-45 f4. They are quite a bit smaller. And then again, if you look at the my workhorse. These are actually my favorite lenses here. The 40-150 f4 2.8 Pro against the 40-150 f4 Pro. And it just look at the difference here. And this is really what make me kind of gravitate towards the f4 Pro series. Well, the size and weight difference is huge. And not only that, the image quality is just basically the same. And one important factor that many of you may actually think about now is the 2.8 versus 4 in terms of depth of field or subject separation, or maybe even more familiarly, bokeh. Right. Obviously, in Michael Four Thirds terms, like the 2.8 Pro lenses aren't always going to give you the same depth of field or subject separation like the full frame equivalent. However, you can still achieve them, especially with the long zoom like this one here, the 40-150 f2.8 Pro. So, I said that earlier, that I always prefer the f4 set when I'm traveling, simply because I want to see the place. And I don't need subject separation, not to the point that I would do for my normal portrait work. And that means that I don't really need the 2.8 aperture. And like I said also, in now digital time, we can change the ISO setting quite easily on the fly together with the amazing IBIS on all the Michael Four Thirds cameras now. That means I don't really have to worry too much about slower shutter speed to get the same sharp shot that I always want to get. So you can get away with like 1/40th, 1/50th of a second on the long zoom, or if you've got a wide angle lens, you can get away with almost 2 seconds. Handheld. That is crazy, right? So since COVID time, I have been reevaluating myself as a photographer for travel and documentary work. For all my portrait, I'm still carrying my Pro 2.8 and also the 1.2 prime lenses because they are phenomenal, and I needed the subject separation for the type of work that I do. However, if I do travel, just like I said earlier, I actually don't need all the subject separation. In fact, in most cases, even when I was traveling with the 2.8 lenses there, I stopped down to 5.6, even 6.3 to get sharper shots and also deeper depth of field to cover everything that I need. And that shows what exactly need, as a photographer. So if I don't need the 2.8 aperture, so I can use basically anything, right? And for the same sort of image quality, in fact, maybe a little bit better when shooting f4 aperture and slower down to f6.3 and f8, I get similar sort of image quality, and I'll go for the f4 Pro series. And these are really my workhorse lenses nowadays when I'm going further afield, like when I'm traveling to Hong Kong, to Japan earlier this year, and also recently 2 weeks ago with my family to Wales. So this is basically what I try to highlight today, and I would like to hear from you your experience in your type of work and also your type of traveling as well, whether you agree with me about the 2.8 versus the f4, or what sort of lenses you have currently and why, the reasons behind you choose this type of lenses, because it will be interesting and also very educational for those especially new to photography and don't know what to buy. Because I know that if you watch any YouTube videos, they always say that the 2.8 is the best. If you want the best quality zoom lenses for your professional work, or if you're enthusiastic about your photography, you're always going to go for the 2.8 Trinity, not the f4 Trinity. So this is something that I think is misconception, and also could be a little bit misleading because you may not know exactly what you need as a photographer, especially when you're just starting out in your photographic journey. So you need to kind of slowly evolve in your photography and really learn about how you shoot and what sort of thing you shoot to understand exactly what you need. 2.8 is good. Not saying that you're not. If you already invest in 2.8, I'm not asking you to buy the f4 set. No, not at all. Or alternatively, vice versa, if you've got the f4 set, you're happy with them, you don't need to go for the 2.8 either. I may be fortunate enough to own both sets, but just because I I earn my money for photography, so I basically pay all this gear with my work. So I don't really have to worry about it. These are my money-making machines and money-making lenses, so I don't have to think too much about them. However, if you are just individuals, photography is your hobby, and you just have to think deep and hard about every penny you spend, right? So this is kind of my 2 cents about, both these lenses here. They are fantastic, in their own ways. The main differences between them is most likely down to the 2.8 aperture versus f4. Build quality wise, they're, especially the Olympus sets here, they're all pro lenses, they're all weather sealed, they're all metal construction, they just phenomenal into image quality. The lenses are absolute beasts. They just well constructed. Like today's video is all basically I talked about on the Micro Four Thirds platform, but that also applies to full frame as well. If you have a full frame Canon, Nikon, or Sony, maybe even Nikon as well, they have the same thing. They have the f2.8, also the f4 series for the same argument that I just talked about. So if in that situation, if you own other formats, whether it's going to be APS-C or full frame, although I don't think APS-C has the same flexibility when it comes to the prosumer sets, so full frame more likely that you have the 2.8 versus the f4 when it comes to purchase decision. So bear all the reasons behind. If you are someone like myself who, or you want to do a lot of traveling, you want to walk a lot, the f4 may actually be better for you. The 2.8, yeah, if you really need the, to open up the aperture, if you really want subject separation, doing portrait work, if you really need that flexibility to cover everything, and most critically, if you are fit enough to carry all that gear and walk miles and miles and miles. Thank you for watching today's videos, and I hope you find this very interesting and also informative. Let me know in the comment section below about everything I just said. Remember, I really want to hear from you, your experience about the f4 and the 2.8. If you own either of these or maybe both of these, and then that will be quite interesting to hear from you. It'll be educational for everybody. Thank you very much for watching, and you know what to do now. Thumb if you like this video, and sub if you want to stay in touch with all things photography and filmmaking. Until next time, bye for now. Peace. Hi, welcome back to my bonus sections, and I hope you liked today's video because I really wanted to do this for a long time. It's not really a direct comparison of lens for lens. It's more about the f4 aperture versus 2.8 because I really do appreciate many of you have commented to me before, the 2.8 is the greatest, like it does everything I needed. That's basically it, like if you're happy with the 2.8, that's fine. But the f4 is also critically acclaimed lenses, and they are really, really good for the money. And, for those who don't need the 2.8, and I do mean that quite a few of you don't need the 2.8, the f4 will probably be a more obvious choice. And especially given the fact that they are just as good image quality wise compared to the 2.8 version. And just to let you know a little bit of a secret as well, the set I'm filming right now is actually slightly different. Well, first of all, I'm using a new lens. I'm going to be doing a review for that, and it's a Micro Four Thirds autofocus lens. That's interesting, right? And so I'm not going to say too much about it now because we haven't had a new Micro Four Thirds autofocus lens for quite a while, and I have one right here using it right now on the GX7. And so this is my filming set now with the GX7. I think that it's a phenomenal camera, which I'm also going to do a long-term review for the GX7 once I got enough experience about it and talk about it as well. So far, I have already accumulated 20,000 clicks in photos on the GX7, and of course numerous hours on the video as well. I've been filming with this guy for the last couple of months now. Yeah, I've been very, very impressed. Anyway, and I guess I just have to enjoy the last few weeks of summer, and here it's just really, really pretty at the moment. The sun is shining on me. It's not as hot, and the last couple of days have been brutal in London. We were hitting 32, 34 degrees in the house. Obviously even hotter. We don't have air conditioning here, so it's always going to be really, really sufferable, just not very great. But today it's actually very pleasant. I think it's now in the mid-20s, it's just nice, got a little bit of breeze here. I'm sitting in my garden and just enjoy a little bit of sunshine, while I can, talking to you guys about lenses and photography. What can beat that, right? Nothing at all. Anyway, I'll speak to you all very soon, and until next time, keep shooting. Bye for now.